to this event today. I am Joylette Portlock. I'm the Executive Director at Sustainable Pittsburgh. And Sustainable Pittsburgh and CEOs for Sustainability are excited today to bring you this panel of fantastic experts who are here to share with us today how this time of crisis has really shaped their corporate sustainability practice. Often what we're seeing is that a focus on sustainability has been a very important foundation for coping with or even mitigating the disruptions of this time. A few housekeeping notes before we get started. Please know that we will be recording this webinar. As we hear from today's presenters, we invite you to submit your questions using the Q&A box. The presenters will be taking your questions after their brief remarks. Next slide. Yep. We especially want to thank the CEOs for Sustainability sponsors, the UPMC Health Plan, and the Pittsburgh Pirates, without whom this programming would not be possible. A word about Sustainable Pittsburgh. Now in its 21st year of operation, Sustainable Pittsburgh works to advance sustainability practice and policy across southwestern Pennsylvania. Our mission is to empower decision-making that builds a fundamentally equitable, resilient, healthy, and prosperous region. And through providing thought leadership research, we host a suite of performance programs in addition that advance sustainability practice at hundreds of workplaces and municipalities in the region. To support the professionals who are advancing the sustainability work at their organizations and communities, we host the CEOs for Sustainability, as well as the Sustainable Community Development Network. In case you're not familiar with CEOs for Sustainability, this independent business network is led by executives and companies representing more than $76.5 billion in total revenues and 316,000 employees. We believe this is the only group in the country with CEOs providing thought leadership, regional thought leadership around corporate sustainability. I'm going to hand it off here to Gina Johnson, our Director of Programs at Sustainable Pittsburgh, to get our program started and introduce our excellent panelists. But once again, thank you for being here on such an important topic and making the time for this really vital conversation.
Thanks, Joylette. Yep, really appreciate everybody being with us today, especially this excellent lineup of speakers that we've brought together. Sustainable Pittsburgh and CEOs for Sustainability are most pleased to have this stellar lineup to share how they're advancing aggressive sustainability commitments despite the challenges associated with the crises of these times. So amid the global pandemic, racial strife, and the climate-fueled wildfires and hurricanes that we've been seeing, these leaders are doubling down on their corporate commitments to reduce carbon emissions, advance racial equity, and rethink manufacturing for the climate era. With us today are Marcia Jones of the PNC Financial Services Group, Lonnie Madison from FedEx Ground, and Mikhail Davis of Interface, the global commercial flooring company. Also today, we're excited to introduce the latest of Sustainable Pittsburgh's Kendall Simon Sustainable Business Case Studies, this time featuring FedEx Ground. These case studies on business sustainability in the Pittsburgh region are offered through a partnership between Sustainable Pittsburgh and the MBA Sustainable Business Practices program at Duquesne University. We're grateful for the support of BNY Mellon Foundation, BNY Mellon, and UPMC, which made these case studies possible. And we invite you to please be sure to download the PDF at sustainablepittsburgh.org. Now I'd like to welcome our first presenter, well known for his business sustainability leadership in this southwestern Pennsylvania community, Lonnie Madison. He's the manager of sustainability at FedEx Ground. And in this role, Lonnie oversees a team of sustainability professionals focused on energy efficiency, renewable energy, alternative fuel vehicles, and waste and recycling initiatives throughout the FedEx Ground network. Lonnie?
Thank you, Gina. Appreciate it. Good afternoon, and I would like to thank Sustainable Pittsburgh for hosting this event, the sponsors, and the audience for attending virtually. This has become the norm lately. Some background on Fedex Corporation. Fedex Corporation provides customers and businesses worldwide with a broad portfolio of transportation, e-commerce, and business services. Our networks operate independently and compete collectively. It's a broad portfolio of customer solutions. We reach more than 220 countries and territories, linking more than 99% of the world's GDP. Behind all our operations are more than 490,000 team members around the world. At FedEx Ground, which is headquartered here in Pittsburgh, we give customers dependable business-to-business delivery and convenient residential services with over 600 facilities in the US and Canada that are staffed with over 160,000 team members in each one of those facilities, and over 75,000 motorized vehicles operated by our independent service providers. As you're probably all aware, our operations have not stopped or shut down during this critical time of need. In fact, FedEx is one of the few companies in the world that has a network and capabilities to keep the essential commerce and valuable aid, including medical supplies and test kits, moving during this time. We're an essential business and see it as our duty and responsibility to support our people, our customers, and our communities that we provide service in. Like our operations, sustainability has not taken a break, and it continues to be as important today as it was prior to the pandemic. Before the pandemic, our sustainability department was focused on several areas, such as energy efficiency, renewable energy, alternative fuel use, waste reduction, recycling, and employee engagement, just like Gina mentioned. Now more than ever, these efforts really are a critical part of our operation, and we continue to focus on sustainability and resiliency during this time. If you can go to the next slide, please, Gina. Thank you. Here's just a little bit of our sustainability journey and some important milestones coming up in the next slide. But starting in 2013 with the establishment of our sustainability department, which really formalized our commitment to sustainability. And we established some internal goals with the formation of that department. Later in 2016, we launched our employee engagement initiative, which was called the EarthSmart Champion Program, which includes over 600 champions representing each one of our facilities throughout the US and Canada. In 2019, we achieved our internal goals that were set back in 2013. We actually achieved them a year early. And now we're looking towards the future with our 2030 goals focused on emissions reduction. Next slide, please, Neil. Thank you. Here are some of the results from our internal goals. 5% renewable energy adoption on a goal of 5%, so 5.4% adoption. 12.3% displacement of diesel with biodiesel on a goal of 10%. 81.6% diversion of waste on a goal of 80%, and 33% energy efficiency on a goal of 20%. Really, these are some of the few areas that we will continue to work on as we move towards the future with our 2030 goals, as we focus on emissions reduction. I'd like to thank everybody again, and I believe that later we will speak more about sustainability during these challenging times during our panel discussion. So thank you.
Great, thanks, Lonnie. And Lonnie has shared that, and we'll talk more later about how definitely a lot of the work that they've put in place to reach these 2020 goals had laid the groundwork for maintaining their progress despite the additional pressures on the business through this demanding time. Thanks, Lonnie.
Thanks, Gina.
Our next presenter is the recipient of numerous awards and citations for her professional achievement. Marsha Ellis-Jones is the Executive Vice President and Chief Diversity Officer at the PNC Financial Services Group. In this role, Marsha leads the development and implementation of strategies and programs that help further build and sustain a talented, diverse workforce and a culture of inclusion. Marcia is a frequent national guest speaker, panelist, and lecturer on the business case for diversity and the impact that inclusive cultures have on corporate innovation. Marcia?
Thanks very much, Gina. It's a pleasure to be here, and thank you to the organizers of this event. It's a very important topic, particularly now as we go through these challenging times, but it's a topic that is appropriate for all of us as we continue to look at the impact that we're having on our globe, on our country, as well as on the region. At PNC, we really believe that our prosperity is in proportion to the prosperity that we help to create for our employees and our customers in the communities that we operate. And for that reason, when we approach sustainability, we approach it in the same way that we do any other business case. We utilize our core values of diversity and inclusion, respect, focus on our customers, as well as our leadership standards as the North Star that helps us to be able to perform to the highest standards. When we think about sustainability, we look at three pillars of sustainability. The pillar of the impact on the economy, the pillar of the impact on society or our social impact, as well as the ability and the impact of the pillar for the environment. And at PNC, although we do business in terms of money per se, we do feel that there is an obligation that we have to be able to focus on each one of those three pillars. So as we think about the economic impact of it, we believe that it is important for us to be able to create economic empowerment in the communities that we are serving. We believe that it is important for us to be able to focus on the development of strong entrepreneurs in the environment that we are working, as well as the focus on education. And in each of these areas, we have had success in terms of developing programs that actually positively impact these various communities. So if we look at the field of education as an example, we see that the development of our Grow Up Great partnership for early education and the commitment that we've made of $500 million over the last 15 years has really had a very positive impact on the development of youngsters from 0 to 5 years of age, where we know that the foundations of their experiences are going to help them to be that much more professional, that much more prepared to be able to fend for themselves as they continue in their educational progress. We have developed programs such as the most recent program of Partner Up within the Pittsburgh community, where we're looking for high school relationships to be able to prepare our high school students for not only preparation for college, but also for the trades. And because we believe that it's important for us to be able to strengthen the entire community and prepare them to be able to be successful, as well as to have economic empowerment. And we've even gone so far as to extend programs into first generation college graduates, because we believe that it is important for us to be able to sustain those individuals who are having this experience for the very first time, that is very impactful for them, but also helps to be able to strengthen the community with their success. And so as we look at this educational component, we realize that there's an opportunity for our employees to become volunteers, to be able to help, to be able to strengthen these programs, but also to be able to get them engaged and also impact our culture of inclusion within the organization. Within our entrepreneurship pillar, we're focused on our women's business development area, as well as our community development bank, where we're looking to be able to provide opportunities for low and moderate income communities to be able to have first-time mortgages and to be able to have personal loans, to have financial literacy, so that there too, we're able to strengthen the kinds of experiences that our clients and our prospects have to be able to create that kind of economic stability that strengthens our various communities. And as we're thinking about our economic empowerment, we're thinking about the opportunity for us to be able to provide development loans, to be able to provide opportunities for our various constituents to be able to strengthen their ability to be able to not only be self-sustaining, but also to be able to grow their focus. When we think about the pillar of society, we look to our philanthropic efforts in terms of our PNC Foundation, where we have $77 million worth of charitable giving that is divided among our markets, or 43 markets. And the distribution of this philanthropy is done in a very unique way through the utilization of our regional presidents, because we believe that as a Main Street bank, our regional presidents help us to be able to be in touch with the constituents in those very unique markets, and help us to be able to not only enhance our brand, but also helped us to be better connected with those particular markets. And then relative to the environment, we are very much focused on LEED certification of our buildings. And over the last 10 years have actually been very focused on the reduction of water consumption, of our emissions in terms of CO2, which are down over 48% over the last 10 years, 36% decrease in terms of our energy consumption, 34% decrease in terms of our water consumption, as well as the enhancement of our sustainable financing for both green projects, as well as the issuance of green bonds. And so for each one of these various pillars, we're looking to be able to find ways that we're able to be very active, to be able to support not only our communities, but also the environment. So I look forward to having an engaging conversation as we can have our panel discussion.
Thanks, Marcia. And our final presenter is an expert in sustainable materials who chaired the LEED Materials and Resources Technical Advisory Group for the U.S. Green Building Council from 2016 through 2019. Mikhail Davis is Director of Technical Sustainability at Interface, a world-leading modular flooring company with a mission of climate take-back, which invites the industry to commit to making a profit in a way that is restorative to the planet and creates a climate fit for life. Mikhail is responsible for building internal leadership capacity and creating external partnerships in sustainability. And Mikhail, I will go ahead and turn it over to you to move over to your slides.
If I unmute, this will go much better. As I was saying to Gina, it is a pleasure always to be in Pittsburgh, even if only virtually. Family roots in Pittsburgh. Both of my grandparents are from Pittsburgh. One from Pitt, one from Carnegie Mellon. Crossed the river to create my family. But it's also very interesting to be speaking, to an audience in Pittsburgh about the future of manufacturing, because it is such a storied town in terms of the history of manufacturing. And actually the last member of my family to work in manufacturing was my great-great-grandfather Johnson, who participated in developing one of the first, formulations for stainless steel in Pittsburgh. So wonderful to be here and to be able to share, some of what Interface is working on to redefine what it means to be in manufacturing for the new era. Get my slides shared. So first I want to acknowledge that just on this call, this is very much a joint effort. We've been working on this for 25 years, and I'll give you the very brief history of Interface sustainability, but we could not have done it without our partners, including some who are on the call, like PNC Bank, who has been one of our most loyal customers for years and years and has helped us innovate and, has even at times prompted us in a direction that ended up being a huge innovation, where they started randomly putting in carpet tiles in different colors, and that became a thing that became, randomized carpet tiles are now over half of our business, literally came from one project with PNC. So wonderful to see those interconnections that have shaped us, even present on the call today. So Interface, as I'm starting to refer to, we are the global leader in in producing carpet tiles. We invented carpet tile to the degree that we didn't. We bought the company in Europe that did. So we can say that. Making carpet instead of in rolls, but in modules that are replaceable and you can use to design, as in this pretty picture. We also now produce other kinds of flooring, rubber and vinyl flooring. But really, we started in the 70s, but really we were reborn in 1994 with a new purpose, and I'll talk a bit about that. But the thing to understand about Interface is that we are mentioned sometimes among people that are sustainability nerds like myself in the same breath as Patagonia or Ben & Jerry's or whatever. It's a mission-driven company. We are a publicly traded global manufacturing company. We are on NASDAQ. We're sort of medium-sized. On this call, we're quite small. 1.3 billion in revenues, a little over 3,500 employees. But we do manufacture and provide flooring to companies and institutions, governments all over the world. So we're kind of a small global company, but we manufacture, we have 8 manufacturing plants. So for the scale of the problems that we are trying to address globally, we're quite small, and yet our whole strategy is around how do we create influence and show that things can be done, even if we're not going to do them exactly ourselves. So as I said, I want to get my slides working. So for us, we are a publicly traded, we have to be profitable. Same rules as everyone else. We are not a benefit corporation like Ben & Jerry's or Patagonia, but Ray Anderson, our founder, when he got his head around sustainability, his whole ethos was, if we can do it, anyone can do it. We make essentially plastic flooring, mostly from petrochemicals. It is an inherently kind of dirty industry. If we can do it, maybe anyone can do it. What example could we set? And so even long before we entered into the global crisis that is COVID-19, we started thinking mostly in terms of environmental issues about how do we have a global impact even as a relatively small player. And that has greatly benefited. The main impact, I can say, business is definitely off, about 30% last I saw. People are not going into offices, which is a core business for us. So frightening from that standpoint, but I can also say a lot of the things we did to prepare ourselves to be more sustainable have made us more resilient in the face of this crisis, in terms of our culture, in terms of our supplier partnerships. And I'll talk a little bit about that, but we'll get into that in the questions. So this is some pictures from the late 90s. This is from left to right, Paul Hawken, whose book, The Ecology of Commerce, really inspired our transformation in 1994. Ray Anderson, the founder and then CEO of Interface. And then there's me in circa 1998, had a lot more hair, and that is my mentor, David Brower, famous environmentalist, really one of the founders of the US environmental movement, famous for quotes such as, "Polite conservationists leave no mark save the scars upon the earth that could have been prevented had they stood their ground." So militant was a word used to describe him often. Ray Anderson wanted him as an advisor. So he knew the change that needed to be made was so big that he needed to listen to these people that typically no one in business listened to unless their lawyers were present. So that was a really interesting moment. I met Ray around about this time in 1997, and it really, for the first time, opened my eyes to the idea that business could be part of the solution to the environmental problems, which I'd studied in school, not just a driver of the problem and someone we were going to have to struggle against. So since then, Paul and I have a lot less hair, and we've lost Ray and David, but the mission goes on. This was how it started. This is literally the first corporate sustainability report in North America on this funny little recycled banana leaf paper. And this was the original Interface mission, to be the first company that by its deeds shows the entire industrial world what sustainability is in all its dimensions: people, profit, products, place, and profits by 2020. And in doing so, we become restorative through the power of influence. So I love we have a mission statement with a deadline, a little accountability. But this was radical stuff in 1997. Reporting the full scope of your environmental impact was not done. Of course, that's now done by any major company. Got examples of metrics being reported. But our role is to continue to move the bar, to say, okay, that was radical in 1997. What does the world need now? And so Ray was a big believer in metrics. This is one of his favorite things to say to people. He said, in God we trust, all others bring data. As an old engineer, running the company. And so when it came to sustainability, he wanted us to measure everything. And this is why we ended up with that report. It wasn't enough just to have some seal of approval. Of course, nowadays there's so many seals of approval, we can't tell them apart, but this is what the numbers look like. Ray wanted us to go get me the numbers on how unsustainable we are. And so our journey to become sustainable looked a lot like this. Lovely old New Yorker cartoon. Our original formula was something like, okay, we're really bad now. We want to get here, and I don't know what happens in the middle. But eventually, culturally, what we came to understand is this is a wonderful place to live, to be out searching for a miracle every day that no one's ever done before, create a fully sustainable manufacturing company. It's pretty awesome work to be doing every day. So these days, we have this blur of different seals of approval. Everyone's sustainable. And yet, somehow, why is the world still so unsustainable? Why have we not solved climate if everybody has some kind of certification or seal of approval? So I think we have to get back to these numbers, the data that Ray wanted. So when we got to 25 years and we really decided to declare victory, to say we've gone as far as we can get on this mission to have zero negative impact, we published our numbers, but we also published it in a report where we tried to distill down what we'd learned in 25 years so that other companies could take this journey too. Because again, ultimately we're small. But we showed that you really can make pretty radical change, 96% reduction in greenhouse gas emissions. This is over the course of 25 years. One of the ones I'll point you to produce a carpet tile, the full life cycle from cradle to gate, from when we get the raw materials to when it's a finished manufactured product, reduce the footprint. It's now 74% since we issued this, but we've reduced the amount of carbon that has to go into the atmosphere to produce a carpet tile by 3/4. 26% goes into the atmosphere compared to where we were in 1996 when we started measuring. It's just to show that big change is possible. Now, quickly, a couple of these other lessons, and I encourage you to look at the whole report, but we went from 1994, where we really were doing nothing. We had a customer ask us, what are you doing for the environment? And it kind of caused this flurry, but we really weren't doing anything that wasn't required by the law in Georgia, which isn't very much. So these lessons, and I'll just go into a couple of them, are really something that could apply to any organization. And really tried to be as specific as possible, not just to have platitudes or sort of success stories from us, but to really try to show some of what we felt like were the key things that worked, and even some of the things that didn't work, which I think is always the mark of really good, corporate social responsibility reporting. Are you reporting any bad news? So lesson 5, to change everything, you need everyone. And Marcia started to talk about this. We have to engage everyone, not just within our own company. That's super important, but to engage the community, to engage our suppliers. We have to get people to understand and make this connection of how it affects them. I think one of the wonderful things that from 1994 to 97 approximately, Ray had this job to engage his own people. They didn't get it. They thought he'd gone crazy. People were whispering about the CEO's gone crazy. What's he talking about? We're not going to save the world. We just make carpet. But what he went and literally, challenged them, he said to them, this is Billy Ingram, one of our great champions, but back then he was just a carpet engineer, designing machines in the factory. Ray went to them with a message that he said to them, okay, you're going to come to work every day. You get to choose. Are you going to come to work to just make carpet? Or are you going to come to work to make history? Our mission gives you the opportunity to do both. And this was something, so people like Billy Ingram suddenly, once he is unleashed to have purpose in his work, saved us $2 million a year in yarn savings and totally reconfiguring the way we load yarn into our machines. So this is really what's possible culturally when you get everyone on board. So finally, for our next big lesson is sustainability doesn't stay still. You have to keep raising the bar. We looked at all of these great reductions in our negative impacts we've made, and we realized that what the world needs is more. Especially, we're so globally interconnected. around issues like COVID, but also about climate. So our new mission is about climate. And it was about going beyond just this aspiration to do less harm and to really change the way that business looks at climate. So we can say, if we change the climate by mistake, what if we changed it with intent? What if we took all of our cleverness and brilliance and applied it to this challenge? We changed it by accident, but we've proved we can do it. And so we're talking a lot about 1.5 degrees C and trying to, in the Paris Agreement, keep things from getting too bad. But that's not really a goal that's going to get people fired up. What if we chose a goal that actually is what we want? That we actually create a climate fit for life, a climate that we actually want. So this is very much what our new mission is about. And this is the opportunity we're trying to share with the business world. So this is, again, then a miracle happens. We have no idea how to do this, but our stated mission is to, show business how to reverse global warming. We've got to live zero. That's our old mission. As close to zero emissions as possible. Love carbon, that's new. We have to figure out how to get some of this carbon that's trapping so much heat out of the atmosphere. Some great local companies in Pittsburgh, like Covestro, are already working on technologies for that as well. Let nature cool. We have to remember nature already knows how to do what we're doing. So if we invest in natural systems, we're going to be able to also help stabilize the climate. And lead the industrial revolution. This is nothing less than an industrial revolution that's required to make it more profitable to have the climate we want than to have the climate we don't want. How do we make it profitable to reverse global warming? Right now, we have a de facto system that makes it profitable to cause it. We could do better. It'll take some changes. So one of the changes we made was to make this across the board global program we've had for almost 20 years, but now it's everything we sell is automatically carbon neutral for the full life cycle. We're going to start with saying it's no longer our customers' responsibility. The climate impact is all on us. We're going to buy offsets if we can eliminate the emissions. So, and we'll give you a certificate to show you how many emissions we eliminated on your behalf. But it's a change of mindset to say, no, it's our responsibility. It's not yours. You should expect that you can get flooring or any other product that's manufactured without it causing global warming. But the next step in terms of really transforming our company, we can say today, okay, we're producing this pretty carpet tile, kind of looks like moss. That's very much live zero. We can produce a very low carbon footprint on a carpet tile today. But if we want to love carbon, if we want to learn how to do what nature does, we got to learn from the moss. This is nature's flooring. Nature's flooring is not low carbon emissions. It is made of carbon. This moss is sucking CO2 out of the atmosphere and making cool flooring. Can we do that? I like to also point out, we always like in our lead projects to have low VOC flooring, so we're not having bad indoor air quality. The flooring on the right here is not low VOC, it's off-gassing oxygen. Wouldn't that be cool? Our flooring can't do that. So there's so much we can learn as we delve into what it would take to actually be restorative. So if we start thinking about love carbon, what would it take to actually make a product that helps reverse global warming instead of just causing less of it? So we, first of all, again, in the early days, took on this new impossible mission to reverse global warming. Our engineers and product designers are thinking, oh my goodness, what does this mean? How do we even do this? Isn't this impossible? We had them work on a prototype first. This was the first to show that it could be done by changing what we made carpet tile out of, to look at the stuff we are making our products out of, and to look at the processes. We managed to put out this prototype. At the time, our average carpet tile produced 7 kilograms of emissions into the atmosphere. This prototype took 2 kilos of emissions out of the atmosphere net. And so this was just the proof it can be done. The product wouldn't have worked on the floor. It wouldn't have been durable enough for commercial carpet, but it showed we could produce something that looks an awful lot like a carpet tile that has a negative carbon footprint. So the first step, we realized the yarn was really not durable enough, but the backing actually worked pretty well on the prototype. So we commercialized this backing under the name Circleback Green in Europe. But then the next step was to and this is kind of our innovation timeline, go beyond that to say, okay, 2016, we launched the mission. 2017, we did a prototype. 2018, we commercialized this as a specialty backing, costs a little more in Europe only. The last 2 years has been devoted to getting to scale. And this is the big thing that we have to do to solve these big problems. We have to find great solutions, but scale them. And this is where we need the FedExes who can help us move things in new ways. We need the new sources of financing that can help us scale up good ideas. This is the largest investment in the history of the company. So there was definitely some money borrowed here, $100 million in total to launch fully carbon negative carpet tile backings. These will be the standard backings launching in about 2 weeks. We have one Sequest GB that is, Sequest kind of a carbon quest or a play on sequestering carbon. That'll be an evolution of our recycled vinyl backing. But it also will have a bunch of carbon storing bio-based materials in it, so it'll be net carbon negative. Sequest Bio is the evolution of that prototype where we discovered some cool new bio-based resins that we can make carpet tile backing out of. Another carbon negative standard backing. The one that's further out, Sequest BioX, is the sort of supercharged, more carbon stored. This will be specialty on a few products just to prove that we can make a fully carbon negative carpet tile. We have to use very little yarn, so we have to keep the footprint down by using less material. But we can actually make we're going to have 3 styles launching that will actually be carbon negative carpet tile products. That's a global first. So what it requires is hunting through our supply chain and all of our processes and figuring out how do we reduce the carbon footprint, how do we store carbon in every one of these layers of our product. And this, I believe, is part of the future of manufacturing, is how do we learn to love carbon? How do we learn to build with carbon rather than just accepting that the process of making stuff puts carbon in the atmosphere? That's not how a tree does it. A tree makes stuff by taking carbon out of the atmosphere. And it's a trick we all need to start learning. So we've gotten on that path, but our real challenge is to get others on the path. This has been our path. If you look at the top, we went from a product entirely made from oil and gas to low carbon products. And now we're on a path to create products that sequester carbon. Similarly, at the factory scale, good old smokestacks. And I remember when I first started the factory, there were these patched holes in the ceiling of our factory when I started Interface 10 years ago. I said, what's that? I said, oh, that's where the smokestacks used to be. Because we literally used to have smokestacks. So we can run our whole factory on renewable energy now, and have no wastewater released. But still, what's next is to figure out, could we make our factory actually sequester carbon and clean water and actually be as productive as the forest that used to be there? Turns out every location of our factories globally used to be a forest. We've surveyed it. So this is the journey to become regenerative, and what Ray called it becoming a restorative enterprise. So this is one of the lessons in our report, create a ripple. That's ultimately what we have to do. We have to change our own business, but we also have to pay attention to how we are influencing other business. What are we asking our suppliers for? How can we share our best practices with other companies? How can we become, as Ray Anderson said, restorative through the power of influence? And I love this Buckminster Fuller quote because we are in a process. We need big change. And so, as he said, you never change things by fighting the existing reality. To change something, build a new model that makes the existing model obsolete. Put another way, if we want to reverse climate change, how do we make our business into one that is more profitable by reversing global warming than all those companies that aren't doing it? They'll get on board once they're obsolete. So finally, as Ray said, there's a different way that this looks for every company, for every organization, but you have to start where you are. Who are your suppliers? Who are your colleagues? What does your footprint look like? How do we brighten the corner where we are? Because if everyone did that, that starts to look like reversing global warming. That starts to look like having a climate fit for life, one that we'd be proud to pass on to our grandchildren. And that's it.
That's great. Thanks, Mikhail. I know so many of us in this field have Ray Anderson as a hero, and so hearing a little bit about the evolution and where you are now is pretty exciting to hear. So we have some questions questions to get us started, and then I hope that we'll keep seeing some of the good questions that are coming through the Q&A box. But to get started with all of you, I thought I'd just start by asking about, again, getting back to this sustainability in the time of crisis theme. What kind of challenge has it been to keep your organizations and C-suite focused on the longer term sustainability agenda, even as they deal with the incredible challenges of this time? And I wondered if there are ways that you've seen your company's sustainability goals actually elevated during this time. So if anybody would like to speak to that, please.
So Gina, I'll start. I would certainly say that, you know, as we looked at the various pillars of that we consider sustainability, and we looked at how we might be able to continue that evolution for us, certainly our commitment, our billion-dollar commitment towards racial justice and inequity is one way that we have begun to be able to focus on the social and the societal aspect, as well as the economic aspect of sustainability for us. And Mikhail talked very much about the importance of engaging employees, but also communities. And so the focus that we have, where we've talked about the focus on education, entrepreneurship, economic empowerment, et cetera, is taking that into consideration, that it is all-encompassing in terms of both our employees, the organization itself, because we recognize that creating an inclusive culture where our employees are able to share their ideas and create that kind of creativity that Mikhail talked about is really one where we respect everyone's opinion, recognizing that from those various opinions come the kind of creativity that Mikhail discussed in terms of the innovation that actually takes place within an organization. And so it is interesting, as you spoke to the various lessons that you had, I'd love to be able to have that slide, because purpose to your comment, that leadership, those experiences, those lessons can be taken as a template for just about any industry in any organization in order to be able to make change. So we believe that we're on a journey. We believe that we will never actually ever get to a destination. It is a continuous focus on sustainability, but we believe that it is with intent that you're able to actually make a difference, and that's what the organization is focused on.
I would say one of the things we've really noticed during this is how important it has been when we embarked on sustainability. It really raised the bar on the level of partnership we had to have with our suppliers, especially some of our key suppliers. Like, we don't make our own yarn to make carpet tile. So in order to create a sustainable carpet tile, we had to find companies that really wanted to go on a long-term journey, which looked like going from 1997, where all of the nylon yarn manufacturers assured us that it was both economically and technically impossible to produce recycled nylon carpet yarn, to 2011, when we launched all of our new products on 100% recycled nylon. That took a lot of both carrot and stick, mostly carrot. We gave all the new collections to whoever had the most recycled content in the new yarns. And it was a different company from year to year, 2%, 5%, 25%. And then one of them really made the investment to scale up nylon recycling, and suddenly they got all the new collections for 5 years. Now the other one has jumped up to 75%, and they get some new collections now. But it takes this sort of deep supplier relationships, which in turn, in times of major disruption like we're seeing right now, is really good to have those deep supplier relationships where we can go and have frank conversations with them about what we need to do together to get through this really tough economic time.
Yeah, and for FedEx, I would say that I wouldn't say necessarily that the sustainability has been elevated, because safety and sustainability are always a top priority at FedEx. But with significant increases in volume, and we have a 7-day operation combined with now with wildfires and severe weather conditions, all occurring during this pandemic. it really, further emphasizes the value and benefits associated with having resilient systems and practices and practicing sustainability. Because we have a recycling program, a robust recycling program in place, really that additional volume and service days really haven't had an impact. We're still recycling. We're still making an impact in that area. Since our facilities have high efficiency lighting, our energy intensity really hasn't increased. It still remains low. Since we provide biodiesel at our fuel islands, we have increased the use of clean fuels. So it really, sustainability continues to be a focus area. Our senior leadership is involved. We have talked to them about our future strategies, and they continue to be part of the conversation and really being supportive of these efforts.
Thanks. That's great. I wanted to ask you all to speak to the challenges, and certainly Marcia has touched on this a bit, but speaking to the challenges during this time for your companies on the people side of sustainability. And I welcome Marcia to say more about that, but are there things on the people side of sustainability that you had to contend with as you work toward continue your sustainability goals?
I could probably speak to this a little bit. On the people side, as we continue to support our global supply chain, obviously, we're an essential business and we're committed to, supporting our people, and we're following all CDC guidelines, recommendations to keep our customers and our team members safe. We're keeping our workforce informed of COVID-19, for example, providing them with the proper PPE, informing them of the importance of social distancing, informing them of the need for a clean work area, care for personal hygiene, and then some of our ongoing efforts, providing sanitizer and disinfectants for our team members, promoting, like I said, social distancing, and really at the security screen, especially at our facilities where we have people coming in and out. We need to be we need to make people aware of the need for distancing, disinfecting the facilities more frequently, supplying masks to team members, reusable masks, so they can use at their convenience, and following, different state and local regulations. We've implemented temperature checking at our facilities. And, I'm working from home right now, and for positions like myself where, we're able to, the company has given that ability for us to work remotely. So really, taking all these things into consideration, this is a difficult time. And a lot of companies have to make arrangements and provide different accommodations for their employees. And, I can't say enough about the things that our company has done for our employees.
Yeah, I think that times like this really pressure test your culture and what is the relationship, between management and the employees. And I think, the hardest thing has been, quite frankly, there's been a lot of people who have been furloughed or laid off during this time. Business is down. But I think for the people who remain on staff, the connective tissue that now the company now has to be coherent, mostly virtually. We built a wonderful new headquarters in Atlanta, which is now, 5 to 10% occupied to ensure social distancing. But we are able to do all of this virtually, and I feel the connective tissue of having a shared purpose in the organization has really carried us through to where you see your colleagues only on webinar, but you still feel connected because we know we're all out to do something bigger. So we're all navigating, having your dog barking on your webinar and whatever else, but we know we're all in it together. And I think that's very powerful at a time like this and creates this kind of cohesion at a time when it's very easy for people just to take care of their own and, step out of thinking that work is important.
I'd just like to add, there's some very important components relative to the realities, as Mikhail is talking about, that our employees are actually facing. to be able to maintain a normal, quote unquote, there is no such thing as a normal BAU anymore, as you have your interruptions with, yes, your dog or your children or whatever that as you're trying to have as conversations, but also the reality that many of our employees are really experiencing a tremendous amount of stress, and the need for us to be able to provide them with various support networks, whether it is from wellness, from ability to be able to have counseling, from other kinds of resources to be able to sustain them as a critical resource for the organization is crucial. Lonnie talked a little bit about the changes that that are taking place relative to temperature checking and others for our critical employees that are actually coming into the office, but actually our real estate folks have actually gone through and reframed, if you would, every single one of our workspaces so that when in fact we do come back to the office, we're able to be able to have appropriate social distancing that will help our employees to be in safe kinds of situations, in addition to all of the masks and hand washes, et cetera, that are going to make them able to work and feel comfortable in coming back and actually working in that kind of an environment, which is really going to be very important for them. We haven't talked a little bit about the other aspect of this social component of sustainability, and that is the impact that the current social environment that we have has actually played on the psyche of our employees. And one of the things that we have done, and that has in fact sped up the process of this sustainability, which you alluded to, Gina, is the fact that we have begun to have more intense and inclusive conversations with our employees so that they are able to really bring their whole selves to work, where we're having those conversations where they can talk about the stresses so that they feel more comfortable, as Mikhail talked about, in terms of developing that stronger relationship between managers and employees, because that is going to help us to be able to be sustainable as well as to be able to be profitable as we move forward.
Thank you all. I have lots of additional questions that I'd love to ask each of your individual companies, but in this scant time that we have left, I also want to make sure that we have some from the audience. So we have a couple, and I invite the audience to send in any others, but I'll start with one that applies to all of your companies, since you're all very focused on cleaning up your energy supply through energy efficiency and renewable energy and offsets and so on. We have a question about how your companies balance the investments in renewable energy and carbon reduction activities to achieve your longer term climate goals with stakeholder pressure to use. So, how do you balance the investment, the cost versus the need to move toward your neutrality goals?
I could probably speak to that a little bit. I mean, we work together with our finance team directly on looking at different methods to finance some of these projects. There's several different programs available and different financing models. We use a lot of PPAs, power purchase agreements, to purchase power for our renewable energy projects. We've been able to do 16 rooftop solar installations that way. And we continue to do projects that way, but there's all other ways of financing them as well. So we're just we work directly, like I said, with our finance team to identify those financial models and try to use them to make sure that we can implement renewable energy and reduce our need for carbon intensive sources of energy.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's always a three-part process. You harvest those negawatts. You eliminate any energy use you can. Then you go in and look at what your best opportunities to go renewable are. We mostly today purchase a lot of renewable energy credits. Our biggest factories are still in Georgia, and there's a huge incentive to use more energy, which has successfully recruited a big manufacturing base for the state of Georgia but it makes it really difficult to justify economically investing in on-site renewables, which we have done, but we really had to justify it through social benefit. We had to, at a certain point, we had to air condition the space where we have all of these ovens. It's too hot in Georgia in the summer to work in those spaces. So we balanced that out by putting solar on the roof. But the economics didn't actually work, even with Georgia finally having some, incentives for renewable energy production. Mostly the incentive is to, use more and more energy. The more energy you use in Georgia, the cheaper it gets. So the incentives are wrong, so it makes the economics really difficult to make work. But that's where you have to want it. I mean, I've done a lot of work with companies as a consultant before joining Interface where the ROI numbers are great, but if the will to do it is not there, it doesn't matter. And with Interface, it's just the opposite. If we can get close on the ROI, we're going to do it. And still a lot of great supply chain procurement work has to do to get the price where we need it to be. Okay, can we lock in a longer term contract? Can we agree to give you more of our business in the future? All of these wonderful things you do, just good procurement work, but in service of getting us to 100% renewable energy. How do we get the best deals? People that sell carbon offsets know us because we do negotiate on those because we buy a lot of them. We get bulk discounts. But there's still a lot of good business practice that has to be done. We just need to have these goals, these aggressive goals set, and then apply, our best, procurement and engineering and all these other, core skill sets to those challenges.
Thank you. Marcia, did you want to add anything to that?
I would just add that as a mission and as a focus towards sustainability, one of the things that we use in just about every aspect of our business planning is to evaluate the opportunity that's there, but not necessarily to actually work towards a quota or a particular percentage of revenue or others, but to be able to have a clear vision of where we want to be able to try to be in support of sustainability, and where those projects, whether they be the financial projects that we have, whether it's green bonds, other types of sustainability financing take place, where it makes sense and where it is the correct business decision. That is where we will be, that's where we will be focused. And as long as we're able to have transparency with our customers and with our stakeholders, which is what we believe is really the most important thing for us in all aspects of our business, that's how we're approaching it.
Thank you. I am pretty disappointed that we're running out of time here for questions, but I think in respect for everybody's time, we are going to need to wrap up. I'm very grateful to you all for being with us today. I want to thank you so much for your time. Thank all of those who took time out of their day to be with us as well, our speakers, all the people who are attending here virtually. We want to offer special thanks again to the CEOs for Sustainability sponsors, UPMC Health Plan, and the Pirates, Pittsburgh Pirates, for supporting the event. Once again, want to invite you to learn more about the leadership of these outstanding companies. And one way to do that would be to check out the new Kendall Simon Sustainable Business Case Study featuring FedEx Ground, which you can find on our website. And then finally, would invite you to please save the date for the inaugural CEOs for Sustainability C-Suite Summit being presented with UPMC Health Plan also. We're thrilled to launch this event to showcase the sustainability leadership of companies like these, and also share the CEO's vision for a sustainable economic recovery with a lot of the practices that we've been discussing here today. So look for the keynote announcement and registration soon. And with that, we thank you so much again for being with us, all of you, and look forward to being with you again soon.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.